Right.
You
I get it. I totally agree. We'll get back to in a minute. We have time. Hopefully we'll have time. We'll get back to the danger of streaming.
Yeah. Oh yes.
But
on the next episode.
Right. But yeah. But I do again putting things in its proper place. I'll say this, and we can talk about it. About it later.
Mm-hmm.
But while I'm not heavily offended by a secular artist being a secular artist,
right?
We should be offended if our pastor listens to the secular artist, does a video listening to the secular artist with obscenities and all, agreeing with it wholeheartedly. But that's so. We'll get to it. There's a video of Bishop Whitehead. We'll get to it.
Oh yeah.
This is the the fraud fellow with this. But anyway, there's a couple other things that I want to discuss, and hopefully we'll have time to get back to it. But one of the things is in Dallas, Texas, young man at a Little League football game.
Oh yes.
And his brother, God, I can't remember his name. I know, son, look it up for me.
Yeah,
his brother plays in the NFL.
Yeah, his brother plays for the Broncos. Ex NFL star Aqib Talib. Is the brother.
Yes.
And this Yaqub Talib is the one perpetrator.
Right. That they were doing. I think he turned himself in at this point, but they were doing a manhunt. So long story short, he's at a Little League football game of his son. His son's team loses the game. There's a flag thrown toward the end, however it plays out. He gets frustrated. There's a fight that ensues, and he shoots and kills a assistant coach for the Little League football team, of which one. And again, just my own, Tay played football, elementary school, middle school, high school. Evan played football and basketball in middle school, young, and then in middle school, and then high school, he just went exclusively to basketball. I've been at some AAU games where parents literally are living out their dreams through their children.
Living vicariously.
Listen,
no, I hear you.
I hear you. I like, my thing with the boys was always like, do your best and play competitive. But the bigger lesson of life, because football and basketball, whatever, any athletics is only a microcosm of life.
Yes. How you play the game.
How you play the game, and not everything is going to always go your way.
Right. Oh, yeah.
Get used to losing sometimes. Michael Jordan, who put all his effort into basketball, considered to be one of the greatest of all times, lost some games.
Yeah.
LeBron James, who's my favorite, my great,
Pray for Moden.
Come on. I'm not going to get in that stats speak to. He's the greatest of all time. He's the GOAT. But anyway.
Really? How many rings does a GOAT have?
That's a team award. How you going to? That just make, we got to do that one show.
I'm just saying, I'm ready.
It's a team award.
Team MJ over here. So
anyway,
I'm ready for.
It's a team award.
All these smoke. That's okay. Well, is he a leader?
Wait. So you're saying. Or
is he just an individual player?
So did Michael Jordan play more than 6 years in the league?
Yes.
Conversation over with. Because if he was he would have won every year. By your argument, he'd won the championship every single year.
No, that's not my argument. He's got more rings. He's got more rings than LeBron.
Well, LeBron's not done.
He's done.
He's not done.
They already
won this year.
Turned him over. Let's see the next trade he needs to get help.
He just signed an extension today.
Okay.
I meant to send it to you.
Okay.
That's him financially the greatest, so he's the greatest. But anyway, he's the greatest individual player of all time.
No,
but he still loses games.
Be not led astray. But anyways, we'll move on.
But he still loses games. All I'm saying is like using athletics as a microcosm of life for our children says that you won't always win.
Yeah.
Things won't always go your way.
Right.
And I used to tell Evan all the time, you show me who you are more as a person and a player by how you deal with the loss,
right,
than how you deal with the win.
Right.
Anybody can be happy when
they win.
When you lose,
how do you conduct yourself during adversity?
Look. Yeah. So this father living out his dreams through his son, takes a life. And then he takes a life of someone who's committed their energy and effort.
And just to be clear, to frame this is at the game, in front of the children, under 9-year-old children.
Other parents,
players on the field, and he shot a coach.
Yeah. And then not even smart enough not to do it off camera. Let's just assume now there's a camera everywhere.
I think that's a fairly safe assumption.
There's a camera everywhere.
That. I assume there's cameras everywhere.
There's an argument between another parent and a referee. And again, that's what irritated me most about amateur athletics. Because you have these superstar know-it-all parents who never played organized anything.
Wouldn't know it.
Yeah, people would laugh at me at a game because if I did say anything, I'm like, "Hey, Mr. Ref, I gotta respect that man." And again, we teach our children how to live life by how we live life.
Yeah.
So when you're getting put out of stadiums and that kind of thing, whatever, you're not making it better for your kids. They're only seeing, okay, it's okay to clown. So now our community is hurt because this guy's gone. A family lost a son, a brother. Children lost their father over a little league football game.
Yeah.
Then
wow.
Now, all of a sudden, two black men. One black man is dead, and his family is hurting. Another black man is finna go to jail for the rest of your life, or at least a good portion of it, over a football game.
Right.
And again, I just think at certain points we just don't value things that it is the great value system that I think is meant. Stuff that we should value, we don't. Stuff that should have no value, we've given it high value. It's a little league football game.
Right.
Bro, it's a little league football game.
Well, see, and that's the problem. Obviously we can sit back now in the studio and objectively dissect, what happened. But what happened because it was not a decision made based on logic or reason. It was an emotional decision. And when someone's, for lack of a better term, sees red and they just so happen to have the strap on them, and I'll fix this problem. What you got to say about this? And then, okay, yeah, now that person's dead and you ruined your life.
Now what?
Now was it worth whatever? Who cares? I can't imagine a situation where this was necessary response. Right. Does that make sense?
Right.
But we can say that days later, not in the moment. So the question is that what would motivate, because your brother's an NFL star.
Right.
Okay. Your kids are in, this Pop Warner League or whatever.
8, 9 years old.
Yeah, 8, 9 years old. What motivates you to do that?
And even if the drive is to get back to professional money, he's not going to do it at 8.
Right.
This game don't mean he's going to make it or not make it.
Right. There's no NFL scouts here.
No.
There's no.
And
there's
even
nothing,
if there is,
there's no college scouts here. There's no high school scouts here.
No decision is going to be made today.
Nothing.
Like, what are you like?
Right. This is of no consequence.
And that's why and I'm not gonna because again I'm a gun owner and but if you're pulling your weapon for anything other than self-defense,
right,
you're going to get yourself in trouble.
In trouble.
This is
this is what happens when you play Grand Theft Auto and then you just leave the house. And you just think that you can just do whatever you want to do because
the world's a video game.
The world's a video game. There's no reset button on this. and you don't have enough stroke to walk to get away from this. Money is not going to buy you out of it. You're not that guy, and I mean, it's on video. It's so dead to rights. I mean, what are you going to say? I mean, I thought personally, when I first saw it, I said, surely there must be some other connection between these two people. It had to be something else. We're missing. And it just so happened to happen at the game. One guy sleeping with the other guy's wife. One guy did, the other guy's sister dirty.
Right.
The bad business deal.
I said the same thing. This can't be about.
This can't be about. This is not possible. It's got to be about money, sex, reputation. Being tarnished, something. But I haven't heard anything to that effect. It literally just is what it is.
Yeah. No, this is something happened. Completely about that game.
Something happened. They got into an argument, and one man shot another man. That's it.
And again, this brings to bear, I believe, some of the issues that we need to really start talking about in our community, right? So, one of the issues is, and again, this is gonna sound bad from a licensed gun owner.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody don't need a gun.
Correct. Well, just like everybody doesn't need to drive. Everybody doesn't need to drive an automobile.
Right.
Everybody doesn't need to, have access to firearms because they may not be qualified.
And that's
they may not be in a healthy
mental
they may not
mental space,
a good mental space, or control their emotions.
Right.
That's why, I mean, now that's kind of done away with. You and I had to go through classes in order in order and qualify for accuracy in order to have the right to conceal carry.
Right.
Now, just no problem. Just show up.
If you breathing and got some bread,
fog up this mirror.
Hey,
here you go.
Yeah, we'll give it to you. And again, communities that are hurt by this. Now, again, this is a bang on our community because we lose an asset.
Mm-hmm.
A father who sees a lane that he can run in to help his community, and not just his community. Think of all these young boys, 8, 9 years old, that look up to him, that now don't have him in their life. That's going to set them back.
Yeah.
And then the emotional scar that's going to come from being on the field when he was killed.
Right.
That's going to set them back. And so now they're not going to have him, not going to be able, and then that family's is hurt.
And he was shot 3 times.
3 times.
In front of his own 9-year-old son.
Absolutely.
Lord have mercy.
It's on video. I meant to send it to you if I didn't. It's on video and you hear it distinctive. And he was breaking up a fight.
Wow.
I don't even think the shots were meant toward him. He was breaking up a fight. He's a coach sitting back parents, referees, everybody scuffling, whatever. He gets in the middle because that's what he's proven he's doing in his life.
Mm-hmm.
There's a place where I can feel, and I'm jumping in my lane to help. And now his life is known. Our community is set back. That for us, and again, and I understand the value of being able to protect yourself, but weapons are intended to protect you, and not to, push forward some argument and take it to a whole nother level.
Right.
Because if you ain't got no hands, you shouldn't be in the middle of no fight, no way.
Right.
And if you getting whooped, just go home. You be all right. Whatever. But taking a life ain't gonna make it better. And
right.
So because again, there's something else I want to throw in just because so the mental capacity of people with guns has not been
properly vetted.
It hasn't.
It hasn't been properly vetted. And here's my thing. Again, also, licensed gun owner. But still, you have to have a license to drive a car. You have to have a license to sell insurance. You
Got one of
know,
those too.
you have to have a license to sell automobiles inside the city limits of Houston. You have to have a license to be a financial advisor, to be a stockbroker. These are separate tests. You have to be licensed if you want to do certain type of, professions.
Right.
Licensed plumber, licensed electrician.
Right.
All these standards that are set in place so that people can have the confidence to know that you know what you're doing.
Right.
But yet and still, for whatever reason, the idea of having a license and registration for gun ownership, gun owners just freak out about the idea, thinking that, as soon as I do this, that, or the third, they're going to come take my guns. It's like, okay, well, you filled out the registration card for your washer and dryer. Did somebody come take your washer and dryer?
Right.
Did somebody come take your refrigerator? Did they take your PlayStation, your Xbox? Did they take any of that stuff?
Right.
Relax.
Right. Why do you feel that? Right.
Why do you feel that way?
Right.
But for whatever reason, license and registration is good for everything on earth, except for firearms.
And I don't understand why. I just don't. I don't understand why. There's another story. Bench the mental capacity of people that own guns.
Yep.
Oklahoma City a resident, and many of you have probably seen the story of it. Francois Littlejohn, 30-year-old father, gets on Facebook Live, starts streaming live, tells his 6-year-old son that he was going to kill him and himself. On this video, you can hear the 6-year-old in the background screaming and crying.
Oh, that mercy.
He does this video. He's mad at his girlfriend at the time because she's cheated, according to what he says on the live, gave him an STD. He still wanted to, try to mend, their relationship. And all he wanted her to do was say in his face, she didn't want him anymore. Sources said that talked to her that she said that she didn't feel safe around him anymore, but she left her kids.
Right.
He ends up ultimately going live this one time. He said, "This is my last video. God rest my soul." This boy's in the background crying. Kills his 3 children and then kills himself. And we don't think that we need to vet the mental capacity of people that buy firearms.
Yeah.
Now, truth be told, if he didn't have a gun, he probably would have killed him a different way.
Right.
If you're that, But again, I can only imagine being a cop and they find a car at a park or something, and you open a car door and you got to see this carnage.
Right. A jogger found the car. It was early in the morning, 7:25 a.m. Then they called it in, and a triple murder suicide.
And again, we're light on gun laws, but these are now this family has to bury these 3 children, and his goal was met because he just wanted her to live with the pain of knowing that you're the reason that I killed our kids and myself.
Right.
And all of it is just very, very sad. But again, I'm pushing for us to have legislation to revisit certain gun laws because it's a need. It's a need. Not everybody need a gun, and these 2 stories prove that not everybody needs a gun. There is some follow up, and hopefully we can get to it. Y'all give us a couple more minutes. I need to hear Sean's commentary about something else, but before we get to that, a follow up from the FAMU graduate.
Yes, the Naked and Afraid. Naked and Afraid.
That's one of my favorite shows too.
Right. So we shared with y'all. Was it last episode?
Last couple episodes.
Oh, dude.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So previously we discussed the story of Terica Williams, who is a potential master's graduate from from the Florida A&M University. She got herself in the news for posing nude next to a statue of the mascot of Florida A&M University. And so she made a statement about, you shouldn't let your clothes define you. And she's used to dressing provocatively. And so she put out these pictures on Instagram and they went everywhere.
Provocative.
Right. So
his graduate forgot the Lee on provocative.
Oh, yeah. Right. And so, well, master's degree, I thought we're already there, but there you go. So, so she did this, controversial, easy for me to say, post of these images of her nude. And so obviously it's very embarrassing for the institution. But, she felt like, hey, I have taken all the classes. I paid my money, assuming all that different stuff. So she's ready to go ahead and graduate.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the Vice President of Student Affairs, William Hudson Jr., PhD, made a statement and said that the university is aware of the pictures taken, currently investigating, and they released a further statement saying that they would not confer the degree to the nude scholar. Okay, so now a master's degree in education, specifically in counseling, but she wasn't quite smart enough to at least get her degree first.
Oh, Jesus.
Close, but no cigar.
No cigar.
So now she's gone out back on Instagram, and she's put up a response saying, all I want is for my degree to be confirmed. I don't want no problems with anyone. She don't want no problems with anyone. MED.
Yeah.
Master's education. Okay. And then she goes on and also says, if I'm going down, 3 professors are going down with me. And she wrote this in response to her degree possibly being revoked.
Right.
So, I'm curious about why she would think that there's 3 particular professors that would go down because of this controversy. So that tells me that one of the following situations is at play. Either A, she did something for them, or they did something for her.
That's the only thing she could have meant. No, those are the only things she could have meant.
That's the only way that they're getting in trouble, because they're not getting in trouble for teaching class,
right,
and
right.
eating an apple on their desk.
And I'm on the tiptoes of anticipation, waiting for her to drop these 3 names.
Oh yeah,
whatever evidence she has.
We're waiting with bated breath.
She actually she posted she posted prayers please.
Yeah, right there. Prayers please. So now here's my thing. Now you want to be prayed for. Now, where were the prayers for the wisdom and discernment not to pose nude in front of the school's mascot statue?
Right.
Where were the prayers then?
Right. She said
masters of education in counseling.
Any other person
that don't want no
position.
Problems.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
This is bad, just bad grammar.
Yeah.
Any other person would have crumbled in my position. I'm really built different. But prayers, please. All of this is just turning into a hot mess. And actually, because at first I was like, well, I'm going to see I'm waiting to see how they investigate this. Fam, you might want to just give her degree and try to get far, far beyond this. Because again, now you're going to raise certain questions. If she legitimately earned it, like even though she did something as a black eye on the university, if she legitimately earned it, then how can you withhold something she earned? So now the question is going to be,
well, it depends on what kind of, because most colleges and universities have a code of conduct.
yeah.
So if you violate the code of conduct,
right,
that's their way out. So obviously they feel like they have grounds, and it would be right there in that little student handbook, right there in that code of conduct. You know, is that
she signed, I'm sure. If
that you have to sign, or you don't, you don't get in. So if you violate the code of conduct, then that's null and void. It's kind of like if you're driving a car and you never change the oil, but then something goes wrong. The first thing they're gonna say is, "Well, hey, did you do the proper maintenance? Did you do the proper maintenance on the vehicle, sir, ma'am?" Well, no, I never changed the oil. It's got 27,000 miles. Never had the oil changed. You know. Well, you're going to be paying for this. The manufacturer is not going to pay when you didn't hold up your end of the bargain. You know, they said, hey, we'll cover these parts. We'll cover the labor as long as you do the proper maintenance at the proper time and miles. So it's the same thing with the student and the code of conduct.
Right.
You can take the classes, you can, you know, make the grade and all that different stuff. But if you don't adhere to the code of conduct that you agreed to,
you have an issue.
Null and void.
We're waiting. Come on, William Hudson.
You know,
let us know something. I'm waiting because this is going to set, and this is, believe it or not, I think this is going to set a precedent.
Oh, absolutely.
To some other issues that I believe that HBCUs have, and you know, we'll see. I'm, you know, y'all see, I'm ripping my Wiley today, so we'll get to some HBCUs in a couple weeks. But I'm holding my breath. I'm waiting to see what's going to happen. Is this transpires, you know, going forward. So, y'all hold on for the update of as the FAMU turns with Terica Williams and her naked. But
I just don't see this working out well for anybody.
I don't
ultimately. No, whichever way it shakes out. I don't see it working out well for her because she's going to have a scarlet letter forever that you're that MED.
Right. I think she knew when she did it. Had to know when she did it.
No,
I don't think so. She knew when she did it.
No, I don't think so.
See, you don't think she knew posing naked in front of this?
No. I'm pretty sure she thought that those that are on the liberal side of things would embrace her. Of course, some, you know, stuck-up conservatives would be like, oh, you're evil, you know, blah, blah, blah. But I think she figured, hey, I have a soft landing spot, you know, over here, and there's going to be these progressive thinking people that would appreciate this. But I don't care how liberal you are. How do you embrace that being around children?
I don't.
Does that make sense?
It makes sense.
And it's like you're a master's in education, but your grammar is gone.
See, that's what makes me think she really didn't earn a degree.
Well, maybe she earned it in a different way than the grade book. You know, I mean, I'm just thinking out loud here.
Drop these names.
Yeah, because now you
we need to know now.
Yeah, right. You know, on the next episode, as the world turns. Because think about it. Now, I'm not saying that you can't, you know, everybody makes mistakes and whatnot, but nothing about this young lady that I'm able to observe tells me that was just a mistake. That's how she talks.
Yeah.
And so, but if she's pointing out that, hey, if I'm going down, number one, she realizes that's a possibility.
She sees the handwriting on the wall.
She sees.
She should anyway. Everybody else does.
Right. And then also she's already brought up the implications that, hey, there are 3 other people that she feels like she has information that could, you know, embarrass the institution further and or get those 3 professors fired.
Right. Which is very hard to do, by the way, but
especially if they're tenured. If they're tenured, adjunct professor, all the time. But a tenured professor, that's really tough.
It's very, very tough.
So, yeah, man. But we'll see. We'll see what ends up happening. But I really hope that people that see this story would look and say, hey, you know what? If you just played this in reverse and started with prayers, please.
Right. You wouldn't have did what you did.
You wouldn't have done,
which is holding up the degree that you worked hard for.
Right. So if she did genuinely earn, that, great. The question is, you earned it, but did you learn it?
Right. Obviously.
Because if this is how you conduct yourself, what did you really learn at your time at Florida A&M University?
And that's I'm both of the boys are. We don't go to school to get degrees.
Yeah,
we go to school to learn.
Right.
And I think learning goes far beyond academics.
Right. The content of character. I mean, what's more important is who you become at the end of the process.
Right.
I mean, I know that's for the degrees I'm pursuing. That's what my goal is who will I become as a result of completing this degree plan, this program.
Right.
Not just hang some pictures on a wall.
Right. Listen, I know we spent a lot of time and we're on the way out, but real quickly, because I just got to hear Sean's take real quickly.
Real quick.
So there's this pastor in, I believe it's Kansas City, who this video just came out Monday of him fussing at his congregation.
Ooh-wee.
Said that they were still broke, busted, and disgusted because they wouldn't honor him properly. And gets somewhere down to the end of the video, and he says, I asked for a well, first it's funny. I'm gonna tag the video in especially those that follow us on YouTube, so you'll have a clip, a link to it as well, and maybe we'll do a short video with this in it. But he says, I'm not worth y'all McDonald's money. I'm not worth y'all Red Lobster money. And when he said it, Sean, I just bust out laughing because I'm like, who goes to Red Lobster? Bro, who still goes to Red Lobster? Unless you got a taste for cheddar biscuits. Because it's
cheddar biscuits is the truth.
They are the truth, but that's the only reason you go to Red Lobster. Yeah, so he goes, McDonald's money, Red Lobster money, some other place he names.
And then he jumps to Gucci, Louis, Fendi. Like, whoa, what congregants you got that are eating at Red Lobster,
but wearing Gucci, Louis?
But they wear Gucci, Louis, and they got what?
And he gets to the point where specifically what he wanted. He said, and I thought he was gonna say, when he said watch, I thought he was gonna say like Frank Mueller or something.
Right.
So he said a Movado watch.
Right. Patek. AP, something nasty, right?
Yeah.
But
he said he wanted a Movado watch, which they sell at Sam's now, which was shocking to me. I didn't even know Sam's sell Movado watches, but okay. They sell at Sam's. And he said,
I think it was Novato, but that's close.
Right. So he gets it to it. I asked y'all for that last year. Still ain't got it. We all the way in August, whatever. And then toward the end of the video, he said, let me kick down the door and talk to my cheap sons and daughters. Right. So initially, and I had a bunch of emotions, right? So I'm watching it because anything that has anything to do with a pastor or a church, I take it seriously because the internet doesn't highlight that is a clean watch. But that ain't. But anyway.
No. What's funny is that I'm looking at the article online and look at the ad. Is a Movado watch.
Crazy. So anything that has anything to do with church or pastors, whatever, I take seriously because the internet does not highlight those of us that are faithful and work every day and we're on the grind and we care for our members and we go see people that are sick. It highlights these clowns, right? So initially I said, here's me. I don't need you buying me anything. Now, I have members that do. And I appreciate them, but I don't need you buying me anything. Let's be fair with how we deal with the pastor. Economically, I can buy my own watch.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Because I got some other stuff I want to buy.
Got my own house. Got my own car.
That you might not feel comfortable going to purchase for me.
Right.
Don't just deal with me fair economically, and I can buy my own stuff.
Right.
But then looking into it like deeper, I'm like, some churches. And again, I'm not, because trust me, our church is only a year old and we're not on that level yet. And so we're still working on some things. But some churches need to just stop streaming. Just stop. Just get off. Because we're always saying and doing stuff that has no place in. There's some things that I say that are specific to my congregants.
Turn the camera off.
And
or sometimes that needs to be left after you go dark. Sometimes there needs to be, some post-stream comments and cut that off.
But his issue was he did it in the middle of a sermon. But here's what I am.
Well, and that's
my mom and dad used to have conversation. We used to have family conversation. Then my mom and dad used to have a conversation, and they used to have it in their room,
right, in private,
behind closed doors,
right? Because
the kids don't need to know everything,
right? The kids don't need to see mom and dad fighting, and you gotta have the united front when you come out to deal with the kids.
And that's what, man. Look, so here's my commentary. Here's my advice to pastors that you need to say stuff to your congregation. Because again, I talked to one of my members last night. It was funny. Hey, baby, I talked to her last night. She had me dying laughing. So, and what we just I said, like, I get it, but I don't get it. But I'm not tripping, right? Because he's not asking me for no Movado,
right?
He was talking to his church. I ain't gonna never get him one,
right?
So in those times where you need to say something to your congregants, turn the camera off.
Turn the camera off.
Now you got to go in front of the world and do an apology that was weak and light, and he probably shouldn't even did it, but did an apology for saying that he wanted, and it's a Movado. How much are Movados these days? Like the last one I saw was like a couple $100.
Have you ever seen Any Given Sunday?
Yeah.
Yeah. If you're gonna make a mistake, make it big.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna eat your lunch for that. Make it big. At least you got these other guys asking for, jets and helicopter blades and all kinds of different. So at least there's some vision there, right. But this right here
a $200 watch,
lowered expectations, my man.
Forever.
But there's several problems, with this whole story. Number one, you do have first and foremost, that was not the time nor the place for you to air out your frustrations with your compensation package. Save that for the business meeting.
Right.
Save that for when you meet with the deacon board. Save that, or just save it. Just don't say anything.
Right.
Just be faithful in what you're doing, and God will bless you.
And that's going to be my last one.
By the way, now these are one of the things that there are many that are fortunate enough to be full time in ministry. But one of the benefits to being a bivocational pastor, where you have, your regular JOB and then you're also conducting ministry, is that this is not a problem.
Right.
This is not a problem.
Right.
Because you are funding your own lifestyle.
Right.
That helps you avoid criticism because no one can, because I'm not taking any money from the church. So
Right.
If you got a problem with the house I live in or the car that I drive or how I tell the time or how I keep my feet covered or whatever the case may be, you're well, I mean, it didn't come off of you.
Right. And okay. And so, and here's my thought even beyond that. And that's why I really want to talk to you about this today. Here's my thought even beyond you. He said, I can tell by how y'all honor me. So if you really think, if you really consider that, honor you, do more that requires to be honored.
Here's my thing. Before we can even get to that, I'm glad you brought that up. What have you taught them
concerning it?
What have you taught your congregation, pastor, about giving? What have you taught them about honoring those that are in spiritual authority over you?
Right.
What have you done to instruct, to inspire, other than, I like them Movado watches.
Right.
8 months later.
Right. I still ain't got no Movado.
I ain't still got no Movado. And they had to be, some people look at it and be like, what is a Movado?
Right.
They don't even know what's going on. I mean, so before we get into all that, if you want to see something change, teach on it.
Right. And
You know, so where's so
it's in the book.
I would say first, where is that? You know, but here's the deal: the Bible says, "Let those who rule well,
Right, absolutely,
be counted of double honor." You don't rule well, single, half.
Hey.
You know what?
Okay.
Something less than double. Because what are you doing? How is this ruling well? You get up in the pulpit while you're supposed to be preaching God's word,
right,
to help people come closer to their conformity to the image of Christ,
right,
to help them get through the last week or get over the last week and be ready to get through the next week.
Right.
And you thought
This was
that instead of talking about the Messiah, you should talk about the Movado.
Yeah.
Instead of the witness, you brought up the watch.
I don't get it.
You know?
I don't get it. And at this point, because then here's what. So at this point, now you've basically begged for a watch. Who wants it? Like,
this is a sad and sorry state to be found in any position of authority.
Right.
And as a pastor, how does that make you look?
Hey, look, and I believe, and I tell we look at scripture together. No soldier goes to war at his own expense.
Right.
He that labors in the word should eat of the fruit thereof. That's all of that. But that's our position from scripture, and then I trust you to do what's right.
Mm-hmm.
But not just by me.
That's difficult. You got to do stuff like read the Bible and study, and why don't you just get up there and fuss?
Right.
That's easy.
Right, that's easier.
That's easier. Just get up and fuss.
Right.
And so he talked down on his people. So my deal is also give people a good name to live up to.
Right.
You'll get far more bees with honey than with vinegar.
Absolutely.
And if you give somebody a good name to live up to, most of the time, they will live up to it. They may even exceed that.
Right.
Because it's like, oh man, we should be doing, something, because it's a reflection of me.
Right.
It's a reflection of how I perceive God and how he is ministering to me through the pastor.
So that is the biggest thing for me, because now my question is, how do you perceive the person that you preach on Sundays? Okay, so listen, I and our members I pastor the greatest church in the world. Man, I sound like my grandmama. I wouldn't give nothing for my journey now. Greatest church in the world, but there's certain things that I wouldn't. If I preach this Sunday, we're going through the miracles of Jesus Christ, expressly at this time, the book of John.
Mm-hmm.
We just preached Sunday about how he turned 2 fish and 5 loaves of bread and fed 5,000.
The multitude, yeah. Mm-hmm.
I believe he could do that.
Yeah.
But he can't bless me with no Movado. Yeah. If you are doing what he called you to do, you be a blessing to people, and God will make sure someone is a blessing to you.
Right.
And it might not come from your congregation.
Right.
He might order some ravens to feed you every morning and every evening.
Mm-hmm.
Again, at a certain point, and this is my advice for every pastor preacher, at a certain point, we have to believe and buy what we're selling.
Mm-hmm.
If you believe that God can turn water into wine, and he can raise a dead Jesus Christ, then he can get you a Movado, right?
Yeah.
Maybe the question should be, maybe this ain't the time for that.
And also, when you bring up this not being the time, we're living in a time of inflation. We're living in a time of even people that are higher earners or living paycheck to paycheck. So there's a statistic that's here in the article that I'm reading about Pastor Carlton Funderburk, whom we're discussing. Nearly 2/3 of American consumers, including some 33% of those earning more than $250,000 annually, live paycheck to paycheck due to inflation. A report from the Lending Club suggests. So you brought up, am I not worth your McDonald's money? Am I not worth your Red Lobster money? Am I not worth, your, Gucci and Louis money. It's like, first of all, read the room.
Right.
How much Gucci and Louis and St. John's knit and all this other stuff? I ain't never even heard of St. John's knit. I don't know what that is. But anyway,
and he said and then said, y'all can't afford that no way.
Y'all can't afford that no way.
So why you bring it up?
Exactly. So if you read the room, then what would lead you to believe that they had that there? And then what value are you creating, in order that someone would see that, hey, you know what, we ought to do something, right. or I bring it down to individual level, right. should do something, for Pastor Funderburk.
And here's and I'm gonna say this a little bit comes there we can go. Mm-hmm. I often lean on this story of and you're well read, you probably already know it, the story of Harriet Tubman, mm-hmm. who during the Underground Railroad and something happened, she was attacked by one of the slave masters, hit over the head with 38, and she would have the rest of her life, she would have these spells where she would just black out, mm-hmm. and pass out, just black out, just whatever. And so she was asked, one time, like, so how are you comfortable doing what you're doing, mm-hmm. when you had these spells where you just black out? Mm-hmm. She says, well, when I'm up, mm-hmm. I work for God. Right. And when I'm out, he works for me.
There you go.
Man, just do what God called you to do.
Right. Shamgar, do what you got. Do what you can with what you got while you have it.
Start where you are. Yeah. Use what you got. Yeah. Do what you can.
Yeah. That's it.
And when it's time, God.
Well, see, I wonder if Pastor Funderburk, looking at Bishop Lamore Whitehead,
that's the wrong place to look.
Well, I didn't say it was right. I just said it was. I just said it was real. You know what I'm saying? Could you imagine? I mean, could you imagine that he is seeing Bishop Whitehead giving people tours of his, spacious closet with all these designer goods, all this different stuff, unbeknownst that may be ill-gotten gains, mm-hmm. All that different stuff. Mm-hmm. But it's like, man, this dude's a pastor. My church looked better than his church. Mm-hmm. We got about the same members. Why is it that he's got all this and I can't even get a Movado? Hey. I can imagine him, closing the browser window, putting down his phone and getting ready to go preach, and just letting his emotions and letting his own materialism overcoming him in the moment.
What did Asaph say? My foot almost slipped. Yeah. When I saw the success of the wicked, mm-hmm. but when I came into the temple, right? I mean, I get it, yeah. And I'm not saying that we're all at that point where we don't look down the street and up the road what somebody else is doing, but coming into the temple ought to take that out of your head, and mm-hmm. then if you're looking at Whitehead, and I said I wasn't gonna bring this up today. If you're looking at Whitehead, he does a video where he's jamming Get 'Em Hove, he's jamming mm-hmm. Jay-Z, yeah. And, with all this stuff on in a Maserati or something, mm-hmm.
I think it was a Rolls Royce. Drop top, type situation.
Man, like the internet highlights clowns. Yeah, they highlight. Okay. Mm-hmm. So I'll end with this one. If you're watching and you are pushed back from not going to church because you see the what's his name, Fuller? What's his name? Funderburk, yeah. Or you see Lamar Whitehead or whatever, or the internet highlights clowns. Mm-hmm. They don't show you the Pastor Lee Skinners of the world. Right. They don't show you the D.L. Lewises of the world, the T.O. Berrys, the Ken Campbells, the Charles Turners, the Delwyn Bentons. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I'm trying to think. I shouldn't even start naming names. The ones that are grinding every single day, that don't live the best, don't drive the best, but they're busy doing what God called them to do. Right. So here's my thing for every preacher. I would ask, mm-hmm. do you want to be successful by the measure that we measure success, or do you want to be faithful? Right. Because sometimes you can be faithful and not be successful. Because we measure success by things, man. And again, that stuff is temporal. Lamar Whitehead was he was jamming in that car with a necklace on his neck, looked like it was $1 million worth. But this same dude that just got robbed a couple weeks ago, supposedly.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Like, how we gauge it is completely different. And so don't look at guys like that, man. Look, and I'll tell any pastor, especially one, if you submit to my, guidance and wisdom, and I don't have much, but I give you what I got, man, you can get more flies or with sugar than you can, water and vinegar.
Mm-hmm.
Beating up folk ain't gonna make them bless you.
Mm-hmm.
Calling them broke, busted, and disgusted is not gonna make them bless you. Calling them cheap sons and daughters is not gonna make them bless you. Doing your job and letting God move in their heart to do something extra for the pastor would cause a blessing faster than talking about folk and calling folk names. It just makes no sense. And again, some of you dudes need to just stop streaming altogether.
Yeah.
If you don't have nothing of quality to say, you need to be found in silence, and different from Bishop Wooden. Your silence is not going to bother me at all. Mm-hmm. Matter of fact, you'll do the kingdom some good by staying in your own corner, and not, because again, these keep happening. These moments of where the church is the joke of the week. Yeah, the pastor, what he said is the joke of the week. Mm-hmm. I just saw another video. I'm gonna show you. It's old, but it came back up again after that video, where this pastor's talking about his praise and worship team because he stood up for them, but they ain't standing up for him. Mm-hmm. If you gonna sit down, get out. Like, since when is that cool? We just, as a generation, especially church environment, as a generation, we just got to do better.
Yeah.
And if that means until you got to stay off live until you can do better, stay off live.
Yeah.
Shut it down and talk to your, people and let God develop you in a dark room.
Yeah.
Before you public and everybody can see you. Because I'm tired of hearing apologies about, somebody saying or doing something that's crazy in the preaching moment. Anyway, so.
Yeah. I just share one quote and I'm done. We can go ahead and sign off. From the Prince of Preachers, Charles Spurgeon. Time will come when instead of shepherds feeding the sheep, the church will have clowns entertaining the goats.
Wow. That time is here. It's a sad commentary, but a real commentary. And again, my thoughts and prayers are for those that are confused because of these kind of actions.
Yeah.
And so, again, we'll be praying with and for you guys. And then we're just happy to be here. So again, those that are watching on YouTube, you can now add comments. Please do so. Your responses are always welcome. Your commentary is always welcome. To those that are on Apple Podcasts, please like, subscribe, send it to family and friends to like and subscribe. And if you have a topic that you want us to discuss, please do so. We got some hot things coming up in the next couple of weeks or so, some guests coming in. We're really trying to turn this platform into something that could be beneficial to our generation, where we are. And so again, if you got some ideas that you want us to jump into, definitely send them to us. We'll add our email addresses, or you can reach us through the website, www.tbtshow.com. And so anything coming up, Sean, that you need to mention?
No, I just asked that, we're going into a new school year, and so just keep our children lifted up in prayer, along with teachers, educators, district administrators, just everybody involved with the education and the protection of our children. But that's it, just at this time.
Yeah. I think next week, and we'll talk about it if we haven't seen it. Something came up with the HSD budget that I want us to look at. It's weird. I'm gonna send it to you.
Okay.
That I want us to look at, and we can discuss it next week. So we'll definitely be in prayer for those. And as well as, we have them, and I know you guys have them as well. Well, I got some kids on their way back to college campuses across our country.
Mm-hmm.
Let's pray their safe travel there.
Yes.
And that God will hold and protect them while they're out of the eyesight of parents, and making independent decisions. Some of them for the first times ever in their life, making independent decisions without mom and dad. And so pray for them as well. And then keep each other lifted in prayer, cover each other for prayer, watch out for each other, try to keep our eyes open. We build our community. I believe that we are called to a social gospel. We should look out for each other, but it doesn't ignore. We should never ignore the saving gospel. And so, while we're focused on church, or whatever, I also want to be focused on our community, and looking out for those that can't look out for themselves. So, until we get together again next week, grace and peace, and I pray God's best for your life.